In late '05, when Spike TV picks up TNA as a replacement for WWE, who had just recently moved back to the USA Network, Doug Herzog, who was overseeing Spike, greenlights the idea to help subsidize bringing Sting into TNA to give them a quote unquote shot in the arm. And it's written in the Observer that Sting gets a $500,000 1 year guarantee, and he's actually going to be the top star in 2006. He's a Superman type character who's not a full timer, but he shows up from time to time, sort of like he did when he was at his peak creatively in 1997. How do you remember this deal coming together to bring Sting in? And is it true that Spike, Doug Herzog specifically, greenlights the idea of, yeah, we'll throw the Stinger 10 grand a week to show up every now and again?
We did that deal at the time. Herzog was a notch up. It was Kevin Kay ran the network. Brian Diamond was in there. Obviously, our executive in charge, Scott, long time executive in charge, Scott Fishman. But they understood our position. They knew what they were paying us for the Saturday night show. And so it was a small rights fee, but they wanted to grow the brand. They understood, from the original pitch meeting with my father and David Sahadi and Dixie, and we're, selling the brand from day one. Networks want to know, okay, who are your brand names? Having Sting a part of it. And then as well, hey, how often can we get Sting? Well, it's kind of a dollars and cents deal. Well, can we help? Yeah, you certainly can. So my best recollection was Kevin went to Doug Herzog, and Doug Herzog said, "Yeah, I'll green light a talent." They call some folks a holding deal, but they did a talent contribution for Sting, and we're happy to do it. And I'll say this: it was money well spent.
December 11th, 2005, as we're closing the lights on a big pay per view turning point, you're standing in the middle of the ring celebrating your victory over Rhino. The lights in the arena go out, and all of a sudden, images of a scorpion appear on the arena screens, along with the date, January 15th, 2006. And then a spotlight hits the ring, and there's a folding chair with Sting's signature trench coat, boots, and a black baseball bat right in the center of the ring. It's made official on the TNA website just 1 minute after midnight on January 1st, 2006. Hey, he's with us. Sting is officially a part of TNA. And on the January 15th Final Resolution pay per view, Sting and Christian Cage would defeat you and Monty Brown in a tag match where Sting gets the pin on you. This is got to feel like at that point the biggest acquisition in TNA history, no?
Oh, so '06.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've kind of said this at different times at different eras. My personal life at the time was a tough road with my wife's illness. My professional life, the building blocks that were falling in place, that we got on Spike. We were going from Saturday night off prime to Thursday night off prime, and then move on into prime time 1 hour and then 2 hours. So the trajectory of that, but I mean literally day one when we had Sting on board, the Toys R Us, the Marvel, action figures, video games, the licensing program. When you have him as a centerpiece, it just spoke volumes on where the brand growth was, and it was. So now we're January of '06 and started in June of '02. So not even 4 years old, but we're really coming from that pay-per-view only, just that grind. But when you start seeing the not just the revenue, but kind of the brand appeal to Spike, to our license programs, to the international markets, it was just, you could feel the momentum, and you absolutely could feel the momentum, and Sting was a big part of it.
Let's talk about how he makes his debut here. He's going to debut on television, his first appearance on television in almost 5 years. January 28th, 2006, he's on Impact making a Spike debut, and it leads to him announcing his retirement. And that brings out Eric Young and yourself, sending Alex Shelley to stalk and videotape Sting It leads to Steve Borden coming back without face paint, and he's attacked by Jarrett's army. We're all setting up lethal lockdown here between Sting, AJ Styles, Ron Killings, and Rhino against Jarrett's army on April 23rd. We know Sting's team is going to win the match, but stripping away the paint, when that happened, it almost felt like to me, like, man, are they going with like a Kiss without the paint type thing? Or was that Sting's idea or your idea, or carry me through this?
It was, look, Sting always has his pulse. And I don't know actually who tabled it first, but it was always ultimately Sting's decision on his character development. And he always had, that's another part of kind of the magic of it when and hanging around the music business, when you really hear not just the good, but the real greats, knowing their audience, knowing when to come out with different songs and different vibes and the evolution of things. I think that's where Sting has always separated himself from the pack, that he knew how to evolve the Sting character. And you just kind of look at it. We've touched on Freedom Fighter, Dingo Warrior, Surfer Sting, Crow Sting. Now we're getting into kind of that, I guess you could say, another evolution, that it was without face paint. It was almost the first time Steve Borden had really appeared on camera. But there was, the debut of his trench coat and bat and boots and all that you almost knew it was Clark Kent Superman vibe, that Sting will kick your ass, but Steve Borden's a real guy.
You guys hook it up in 2006, Hard Justice 06. It's billed as 8 months in the making. Of course, Christian is going to be helping Sting repeatedly throughout the match. And then finally, he turns on Sting at the end of the match. Meltzer would say Jeff Jarrett and Sting were more than willing to follow the predictable 1999 WCW Thunder match formula that will carry them all the way to an expected October rematch. What'd you think of that, where you have Christian involved? I mean, it does feel like, man, we're doing it again. And I know that we're storytelling and we got to get people to the next one, but we've yet to see just a regular, hey, let's have Steve Borden and Jeff Jarrett go tear it up and kick ass in a wrestling match. Why are we so heavy on the Christian piece here? Did you get outvoted, or were you in favor of that?
I'm sure ultimately my final decision, and back to the creative is subjective, but man, what a balance it is, because of I hate to beat this horse over and over and over. Are we going for ratings or buy rates? And we always kind of leaned into, we got to get those ratings up so Spike will value us more and we'll get our rights fees up. That we always kind of leaned into that. And so when you do that, you've got to create that episodic nature more than the big blow off on the monthly pay-per-view. And so there you have Christian probably being involved too much in this world title match.
Not just that, but in kayfabe, in story, he interfered to help Sting over and over and over. What if one of those times it actually worked?
Yeah.
And he beat you?
Bad creative right there. Yes.
You could poke holes in that, but
1,000 holes.
we know it didn't happen. He is going to have another match at Bound for Glory. This time he's going to put his career on the line as an added stipulation. It's the biggest pay-per-view of the year, of course, Bound for Glory 2006. Sting is going to end your NWA World Heavyweight title reign. Kurt Angle has recently joined up with the program. He is the special guest enforcer at ringside, and he's going to interject himself in the match as the main referee later in the match. The original ref appeared to be on the verge of counting down both Sting and Jarrett, and because he wanted to see a winner and a loser, he threw the ref out of the ring and took over. Later, Sting no-sold the Jarrett guitar shot to the head, which did a huge reaction from the crowd, and then made Jarrett tap out with the Scorpion Deathlock. This is the match we've been waiting to see. You saved the best for last. Sting is the NWA World Champion. Of course, the first time he won that belt, it was the big gold belt. You guys are carrying and using the predecessor for that, the old 10 pounds of gold. First time we see Sting with that belt, And Bound for Glory, for lack of a better word, is TNA's WrestleMania. That's a hell of a visual, and we finally got what we were looking for. With a little special guest referee from Kurt Angle. 06 has been good to you, my man.
It was the build, and we've gone into this in the archives, but there was Rhino, there was Christian. I was going to drop the belt a couple of different times, and we never could land on it. I think Monty Brown was still on that. I've done this a couple of times, kind of get the how things were going to happen and then didn't happen, but it all ended up working to our advantage because I think it was about Slammiversary, June of that year. So it'd be kind of May creative. We said, you know what? Why don't we really put all of our eggs in this basket? And Sting needs to be champion. He's full-time with us. And Sting's like, I want to get in shape. And we did the story where he puts his career on the line against the title. He went away, I think, maybe for 2 months. You saw by the picture. He came back. I think that's the best shape of his wrestling career. He looked great. And, he's late 40s at this time. He looked phenomenal. And when we booked this match, Kurt was not even on our radar. That kind of happened. And then again, just the convergence, it just make him special enforcer. Everything kind of gelled again. Highest rated, that I know there's the discussion on we raise prices, but anyway, most buys in TNA pay-per-view history. But it was a story. The icon Sting draws money. They wanted to see him win. They wanted him to kick my ass, and I'd held the belt for a while. But fun to reminisce, and that match live, and I think on pay-per-view, but live, the people they exploded when he no-sold the guitar because we had built that. They came unglued, pal.
That match and the finish and the booking feels a little reminiscent of 9 years prior at StarCast. It's easy for me to say. Starcade, 1997, when we saw Sting and Hulk Hogan with the guy who's fresh off the other TV coming in to insert himself as the special guest referee. That was Bret Hart. This was Kurt Angle, but the story is the same. And we had this long reigning evil champion who didn't deserve the title, and we needed it off of him, and we need him to tap out to the Scorpion. Well, it was Hogan, and now it's Jarrett. Same thing. It worked then. It worked here.
I've never heard that analogy. Well done, partner.